If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Ooh, check that shit out, man, the internet. Let's see if those wrote something new about us or that stupid-ass flick.
Something you want to add to this briefing, Captain Hiller?
No, sir. Just a little anxious to get up there and whoop E.T.'s ass, that's all.
All right, look. There's only one return, okay? And it ain't of the king, it's of the Jedi.
That man is playing Galaga. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
I'm running this monkey farm now, Frankenstein, and I want to know what the you're doing with my time.
Would you like to know more?
Call recall. For the memory of your ideal vacation.
You were interested in a memory of,
Mars.
You're gonna love this, Doug.
Yeah, but how real does it seem?
As real as any memory in your head. You are on your most important mission.
Do you want to know the future?
What about the past? You are not you. You're me.
They erased your identity and implanted a new one.
Watto wants what's in Quaid's head.
You're Quato, right? Wrong.
Are you actually happy with how your life's turned out?
Why the hell shouldn't I be?
What do you know about this recall place?
Stay away from them. Don't mess with your mind, man.
Welcome to Recall. First time?
Tell us your fantasy. We'll give you the memory. You want to be a crime fighter, or world-class athlete, or secret agent? Yeah. Happy trails, man.
What is it? What's wrong?
Yank that needle out before it takes.
Why are you here? Why?
It's all a mistake. Nobody.
Hands on your head now!
Hey guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekinGeek.net's Future Imperfect. I'm Mike the Birdman, and this is the show on Twig where we talk about science fiction, be it real or literal fiction. Could be a movie, could be a book, could be a television show, could be literally anything, could even be the latest scientific advancement happening in laboratories right now. But for this show, I'm joined by my brother, my compatriot from the lovely city of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada.
Alex, the producer.
And from the lovely state of Michigan, from Lansing, we have...
Well, I'm Aaron Pollyea.
And guys, we are back here on the show, and we are deciding to check out yet another original versus remake. Kind of a fun little gag we've been running over the course of this year. And this was a movie that I never even considered us doing until I think it was Alex suggested this, or maybe it was Aaron. I'm not sure who. But we're going to be talking about the movie Total Recall, based upon the Philip K. Dick story. We can remember it for you wholesale. And this is an interesting idea because Twig actually has a weird connection to the Total Recall remake in a very bizarre kind of way, if I remember the story correctly. But as we discuss about this, I guess we should kind of talk about our memories of Total Recall, how we first got involved with the property, how we first saw it, whatever. I'll go first just to give you guys a little bit of time to think about your memories and whatnot. So the first time I found Total Recall was actually not because of the movie. It was because of the video game. So back when this came out, this was about the time of the Nintendo Entertainment System, and there used to be a television show called Video Power, and this is one of those live action segments, but there would also be this animated cartoon that would go with it. It was hosted by an individual named Johnny Arcade, and it used to feature a animated commercial called The Power Team, and it would have like Quirk the Chilled Tomato, Tyrone from, I think it was like Double Dribble or something, Bigfoot the Monster Truck, Max Power from Narc, and heroes from Wizards and Warriors. But
That sounds
the
so
reason,
random.
yeah, it was so weird. It was sort of like the Acclaim thing that we talked about a while back on the main show. But they had one part where they're talking about the Total Recall arcade game and Arnold Schwarzenegger's character of Quaid. They're showing off a little bit of gameplay of this, and it shows the scene where he jumps out from the X-ray scanner thing, and that happens in the video game. It's a big selling point. And for some reason, you're fighting dogs. But I remember specifically in another magazine that I read around the same time, Total Recall had a little Easter egg, one of the first that I can think of, where you could duck into a movie theater in that game to hide from enemies on the street. And it was an Easter egg. And you could watch Total Recall, and it would show the title screen from the NES game in the theater, and it would show your like avatar watching the movie, and it was just a little Easter egg there. But that's the first time I saw it. I don't think I actually saw Total Recall the movie until I was in high school, which would have been around 96, 95, somewhere in there. And I thought it was fine. It didn't blow me away. Like, it was just another Arnie movie to me. It wasn't until the most recent rewatch that it really took on a new dimension for me in terms of what I thought about it as a thought experiment. I can honestly say I haven't read the original Philip K. Dick short story that this is actually based upon, but in viewing Total Recall, which we'll talk about this when we get into the film itself, a lot of very interesting questions have come up for me since then. So I'm going to throw things to Aaron. What was your first experience with Total Recall?
I saw it in the theater.
Oh wow! Holy shit! Cool.
So I was like 13 when I saw it, and my mom took me to it. Probably, she wasn't probably happy that she did so in the theater, but she took me to it because it's science fiction. All the trailers are like, oh, it's on Mars, it's action, it's Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I've already watched a couple Arnold movies, and that's fine. Let's go see this. It's based on a sci-fi novel, and Aaron likes Philip K. Dick. So, yeah, saw it in the theater. Probably, like, not the most appropriate thing to see in the theater as a 13-year-old in 1990. But
honestly, it's
still.
not the worst Paul Verhoeven movie your mom could have taken you to see.
Yeah, it's true.
No. Yeah, absolutely not.
She could have been like, Basic Instinct. That's the guy that did the RoboCop movie. I'll take him to see that.
See, I probably watched RoboCop far too young too, but we already talked about that. I loved this though, for all the reasons I still love this. I like the sci-fi elements. I like what they did with Mars and kind of like setting up this weird rebellion and these, the ancient alien technology. The special effects, I think, still are pretty good. And I still think that the story holds up fairly well. I enjoyed revisiting it. I mean, I have this on DVD, so it's one of these films that I do watch every now and then.
What about you, Alex?
We watched it on TV a fair bit. It was on City's, late great movies a fair bit. So I think we made we taped the TV copy, which would have been toned down slightly. Like some of the more weirdly enough, I think the violent, bloody stuff that happens at the very beginning of the movie, when without jumping too far into the plot, when he goes and he ends up meeting up with his coworkers, and they're actually agents and they're coming after him, and he beats them up and they're really bloody and gory. He breaks the guy's nose and breaks his arm and blah blah blah. That stuff, that is cut from the TV version, but some of the later stuff isn't, which was very confusing. So I watched it probably, I would have been probably about 12, 13, maybe around there, maybe 11, 12. It would have been mid to late 90s when they were airing it on TV. And that's where I had seen it. And I think, it was on a tape that we had that was TV, like TV broadcasts of Arnold movies that we had just, we bought a tape, put it in like SLP mode to get 8 hours out of it, and had like Total Recall, Running Man. I think it was Total Recall, Running Man, Predator, I think it was those three, and there might have been something else on there, but it was either on City TV or it might have been when like TBS was on a binge of showing a bunch of movies. So that's basically my background with it. I didn't know anything about the original short story. Uh, that came much later on, and even then, I just remember from the short story, the most memorable thing was that's a really cool name for a book. Like, and that's pretty much my knowledge of Philip K. Dick at that time. It was, wow, all of these guys' short stories have like the coolest names. And that was pretty much it. And I didn't see like the complete uncut version till I picked up a DVD of it myself, probably in the early 2000s. And going back and watching it now, I think it's one of the better Arnie movies. I know it's kind of divisive, but then again, when has a Paul Verhoeven movie not been? Right? So
Mhm.
that's basically my background.
All right. So I guess, Aaron, since you saw this in theaters, and I got a feeling you probably know quite a bit more about this, give us a super high level overview of what is the plot of Total Recall.
Quaid, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, is not very happy in his life, even though he's married to Sharon Stone. He's kind of bored, and he goes to Total Recall, where they can implant memories into your mind, and he chooses a fantasy that deals with him being a spy. But then the movie begins, and he's attacked, and it turns out that he actually is a spy, and that his how he is now is basically just a cover story, that he's had all these memories implanted and this personality implanted, but his old self has left messages for him to get to Mars to overthrow this like Martian governor Cohagen, played by Ronnie Cox. And he ends up duking it out on Mars with ancient aliens and fighting on the surface of Mars. Well, not fighting on the surface of Mars, but like being thrown out onto the surface of Mars and having his eyes bug out. I don't know. It's just a joy. It's a complex near future movie. I shouldn't say complex, but it's a fun. There's lots of things going on in it. There's a resistance against an oppressive government, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Like at the surface level, it might seem that it's not complex, but there's enough layers there.
Yeah, because like I would call it a little bit beyond cyberpunk, where it's sort of like future punk when I like kind of look at it, because space travel is common enough where they talk about going to Saturn, they talk about visiting the moons of Titan, but people are actively living on Mars. They're trying to terraform it and whatnot, but they're like, oh, we can't, because part of Copenhagen's thing on Mars is he wants to keep the population under control, because he controls the oxygen, he controls the industry and whatnot. And when I went back and rewatched this gave me a lot of interesting thought experiment questions. And here's where Mike gets on his little soapbox. But the idea of having memories where they're like, why would you want to, like, at one point the salesman talks to Arnold's character Quaid and says, well, you go on vacation, you got to worry about your luggage getting lost, you have to worry about shitty weather. Why would you want to go through that when we can give you a memory that is quite literally perfect? And I got to thinking about that line of thought. But say, okay, let's say you go to visit Recall. One of us goes. Okay, you would have to make sure your friends never tell you that you went. It would have to be erased from your credit card statement, and everybody would have to maintain the illusion that this happened to you, providing you want to have the immersive experience. Now, judging from some of the conversations they have, it seems like they could have triggers implanted so they would think about sort of these things. Like if someone said, oh, where were you? Oh, you went away, or something like that. Basically, it would implant false memories that would trigger to cover these little things.
Or I guess you could also just not tell your friends you're going. Go do the vacation, and if you don't tell anybody else, it wouldn't necessarily pop up, or you know, perhaps there's well, this is not a very ethical world, but there would be an ethics clause that says part of the implanted memory is to mention that it is a recall memory, but if it wouldn't matter if you didn't go, if you're still remembering the same event
Sensations, yeah.
as if you had gone, that's all that really matters. Now,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
want to hear if, like, when we experience a memory ourselves, or when we experience something and it gets converted to a memory, we never really remember it 100%. We remember flashes of things that happen, very key events. Like, we remember things the way when you edit a video, you have
Mhm.
keyframes, and keyframes, and same things with animation. A keyframe is, a frame or a number of frames of things that are animated or shot that are very, very detailed, and then a lot of times the rest is sort of filled in between. They call it tweening between the keyframes for
Mm.
animation. So when, like, Bugs Bunny or somebody is walking, they'll have a starting point of his arm and an ending point. And sometimes you can use, nowadays you use software. Back in the day, you would use lower quality animation to sort of fill in the gaps, and your mind plays tricks on you to make it feel like it's fluid motion. So it's an optical illusion, but it's also a illusion of the memory. So in real life, we don't get pristine, full cinematic, picturesque experiences of our memories unless you're somebody who has, like,
Photographic memory.
Not even more than that. There's, like, conditions of people where they can remember every single thing that they've ever done, right? Like, there's a specific condition. I can't remember what it's called, but there's that. Would these appear to be like a real memory, or would they be so vivid that you would literally be able to remember the entire trip? If you remember the entire trip, it would be better than real life.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what it's implied is that as soon as you leave the chair, that it's all very vivid, because chemically speaking, it would all be in your short-term memory.
Yeah.
So it would all be very vivid, but then it would be processed into your long-term memory,
and then become
which
like a
means you
regular
would
memory.
end up filling in a lot of the gaps, because not everything would be stored.
Yeah, and I was also kind of thinking about this too. There's another 90s movie where they talk about implanted memories. In fact, come to think of it, there's a lot of movies in the 90s that have this, that are very cyberpunky. Demolition Man, for example, when they freeze John Spartan and Simon Phoenix, they're implanted memories and they're given skills. Like, for example, Simon Phoenix knows all these cool combat maneuvers now, but he also knows how to crochet and how to speak Spanish and all this crazy shit. And whereas, same with Sylvester Stallone, he can crochet now and he can do all this other stupid shit. But there was an article I saw in the news not fairly recently, and they were talking about the idea of implanting memories in people as part of rehabilitation and stuff like that. And I got to say, with the world of Total Recall, I could see this being easily given to the criminal justice system to change people. And the fact that personalities can be implanted and layered on with false memories, personality traits, etc. Because Quaid is a full person when he goes back to Earth and is living this false life with Sharon Stone's character. And about to say, that's kind of terrifying, because when you think about it, are you?
That's not even like a memory graph. It's a full personality graph at that point.
Yeah, there are
major
major ethical and moral questions.
Yeah, and
there, even for like the penal system.
Yeah, and I got to thinking, like, this movie's a lot smarter than I gave it kind of thought, than I originally kind of thought about for a really, really long time. And now that I'm looking through it through the lens of that ethical, like, wow, what is memory? What is personality? What defines you? And at one point, they try to fuck with Arnold when this guy goes, well, I'm actually an emergency procedure. You're having a psychotic break. You're in the chair at recall right now. If you don't come back, you're going to die. So here, take this pill and you'll wake right up. I promise you. And I'm thinking, oh, that's fucking clever, because how would you know reality from fiction at this point? Because if it's memory, you remember fucking pain. When you stub your fucking toe, you remember that shit. And
the only way he tells is intuition, something that is in the subconscious and not part of necessarily your, without getting too much into like going into like Nietzsche and all these stuff where it's about like what is personality and what's the id and what's all that. It's more of uh that is something that is deep and buried within like your reptile functional brain of reading somebody's micro expressions and fear. He reads his fear by not just the sweat, the little ticks in his face. He reads the micro expressions. That is something that is at a base level that you couldn't necessarily rewrite with a memory engram on top of it. It's just that is base as a human. So that's how he tells. Otherwise, he would have been screwed. He would have been like, "Oh, pill, yummy."
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that I was kind of noticing about this movie is too is in the 90s, I found Paul Verhoeven knew exactly who to cast in his movies. And this is the first Sharon Stone movie I'd ever seen. I hadn't seen Basic Instinct. Actually, I didn't see Basic Instinct until like last year, I think, on the podcast when I reviewed the Blu-ray of it. And
I've never seen it.
It's worth seeing once, but temper your expectations. It's fine, I guess.
Yeah, more is said about it simply because
that
scene it pushed what you could get done in an R-rated movie without getting hit with the NC-17.
Yeah,
and then after that, he just threw caution to the wind with Showgirls, right? So, it's more, and it's honestly kind of tame movies from like France and Italy in like the 60s and 70s were doing more than what he did there. It's it's just a big deal that it was an American movie, with the kind of budget that a big Hollywood movie gets, doing like the last time I can think of, without going off on a tangent, that a Hollywood movie tried to do something like that would have been like Last Tango in Paris with Marlon Brando. That was considered too hot for Hollywood at the time. And, that was what 15, 20 years earlier. But yeah, so it's good. But it doesn't hold up the same way 30 years later.
Yeah. But the thing that really took me with the performance of Sharon Stone, and it was something that Paul Verhoeven said in an interview as to why she was cast in a later role, is in Total Recall, she plays Quaid's wife, and she turns from this really sugary, sweet, like loving wife to this brutal, I am a spy, I'm an assassin. And Paul had said, she's like that in real life. She can turn on you on a dime. And I'm thinking, oh, that's fucking cool. Like, I dig that, just that, like a switch gets flipped. She would be an awesome Terminator, to like say that. Also having Michael Ironside as Richter, fantastic henchman bad guy there. Space Ronnie Cox as Space Dick Jones. Robert Picardo as Johnny Cab was a bit of an unexpected thing.
Anytime you see Robert Picardo in something or hear Robert Picardo in something, it's a joy.
Also, Dean Norris is in this unexpectedly. I didn't see that one coming. He plays one of the mutants on Mars in The Bar. Also, I found out the
with the big scar in his face.
Yeah. I also found out the girl who the person who is the little person. She recently passed away. I found out, I think in 2019, I want to say, complications from dwarfism, I believe. But again, great in that role. This is the first time I'd ever seen a 3-breasted person, so that's a thing. The guy who plays Benny, great character actor. I got 5 kids to feed. I never got sick of that. And again, just a lot of great moments in this. Like I said, wonderful cast, pretty smart scripting, pretty funny. Verhoeven definitely has a thing like for one-liners, obviously, welcome to the party, Rita, get your ass to Mars, and all that shit. The science in this is a little rough at times. Sure. Obviously, when you go out on Mars, I'm going to guess your wounds don't instantly just heal when oxygen gets put into the atmosphere, but alien technology, who knows? Because I was kind of thinking about this too, but say, okay, cool, you've terraformed Mars. Great. The oxygen is breathable. That doesn't stop the radiation.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that, thinking, oh wow, that's awesome. Go outside. You're still gonna cook. But yeah,
Well,
like,
yeah, because Mars doesn't have a magnetic field, or at least I should say, it doesn't have a strong enough magnetic field to really protect against like solar flares and things like that. I mean, the atmosphere, if you had a thick enough atmosphere to breathe, that would help. Don't get me wrong, it would help. Just not protect you against the real hard stuff.
yeah, because like I was really thinking about thinking that's not gonna do as much as you guys think it is. But again, it was kind of cool. And in terms of special effects, that's really fucking unnerving seeing Lena and Quaid get kicked out onto the surface and their eyes bug out and their skin starts to boil and pop. It's be a horrible way to fucking go. And I can only think of 3 movies where someone's died on Mars that isn't Ghosts of Mars. There was Mission to Mars where somebody cracks their helmet and the body just freezes instantly, if I remember correctly. Ghosts of Mars, and doesn't somebody else die in the Matt Damon movie The Martian, like when he gets there? Or is he just trapped there? I can't remember which. But there was another movie where somebody dies on
Red
Mars.
Planet.
Red, that's what I'm thinking of, right? With Val
Kilmer
Kilmer.
movie.
That's
Yeah.
it. But
Because
yeah.
Red Planet and was like Red Planet, Ghost of Mars, and there's like 3 of them that came out within a year of each other.
Yeah, like Mars was like super hot, and I think that's around the time the Spirit rover was there, give or take.
It was Mission to Mars and Red Planet were like the same year, or like within the same summertime. Just like it was the whole Dante's Peak and Deep Impact thing all over again.
Yeah, and the only other movie,
whatever,
Volcano.
There was 2 volcano movies and there was 2 meteor movies. I can't remember which is which, and they all seem to do that. They come out within like a few months of each other, or Leviathan and Deep was it the other underwater one plus the
Deep
Abyss.
Star 6 or something.
Yeah, and they're within like 6 months of each other. It's the same thing. They all seem to do that, but this was probably the first big budget Mars movie ever.
Yeah, and I think a couple years later, there was an anime that happened on Mars that actually starred a Verhoeven girl, Elizabeth Berkley, and Kiefer Sutherland, called Armitage the Third, happened on Mars too. So Mars was very hot in the 90s for some bizarre reason, but it was kind of cool. I mean, ultimately, it is a classic for a reason. And when I was watching the movie with my friend Liam, we were looking at all the different guns in this. There's a lot of weird guns in this too. Like even some stuff that's considered like a prototype. I think there was like a shotgun here. There's not too many of these in existence. There was a pistol that's a really bizarre make. And we looked on YouTube because we're obviously, me and Liam, we are gun tubers. We enjoy this type of thing. And evidently it's a fairly popular build in the prop market. People like to recreate this for like airsoft and stuff like that. I can't remember what it is, but it's the gun that Copenhagen uses and Richter uses. That weird,
not the city.
Sorry, Copenhagen. Yeah, it's this weird. It's got like this weird furniture on it, and it's really bizarre. But yeah, again, that's just one of those weird random things. And we also found out the knife that Sharon Stone uses is a very unique cold steel knife, which again, we just got bored. Like, I wonder how much it would cost to get one of these. And we looked it up on eBay because it's a vintage knife. We're like, holy shit. It was something like $600-700 American. And it's the knife that Sharon Stone uses when she fights Lena, I think, in the hallway. So again, fairly interesting stuff. Obviously the great scene with the robotic head I thought was really fucking clever. Just a cool way to camouflage yourself.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Really at that point of when they were just starting to do more CG. So there's some CG with this, but still the vast majority are either done with miniatures or physical models, right?
Yeah.
That was like a halfway. If you notice, the way the head moves, it's clearly stop motion, but then it's not the usual green screen effect keying on top. It's clearly computer it was,
animatronic sort of thing.
well, it was stop motion for the physical, like you can see, because Arnold's face. Don't look at her. If you look at his face, he's barely moving, and it's very jerky, like it was in Terminator. So
Okay.
it's clear that they did stop motion where they with a physical prop that opens up, but then they used a computer composite to put her face on top of whatever they painted, versus how they would have had to do it before with like an actual like physical rubber mask that would have looked terrible, or also doing like traditional keying where they would have just used, an optical effect, and that would have looked bad. So it looks really neat, but it still looks a little off-putting. I think they used physical models for the few shots they show of the outside.
I think so, yeah.
Like the tram driving around and everything. A lot of physical sets that had to be expensive to do.
Yeah.
And I imagine, can you imagine the budget for fans in this? Industrial fans they would have had to use.
There was one thing I think I watched this on YouTube. I think it was like a special feature or a making of. They were talking about the scene where Arnold goes through the X-ray machine, and
I
evidently
love that, the skeleton. Yeah.
On the day of, Arnold wore the wrong colors for the keying. Like he was supposed to wear a different color morph suit or something so they could track his movements. And they're like, Arnold, could you change? And he's like, no. And he did the stunt anyway. They're like, well, I guess we'll fix it in post. And because he made the mistake, it actually worked out better that way. It was actually easier to do. So I found that was really fascinating. Yeah, I was like, there's a lot of interesting stuff behind this movie. And like I said, as a kid, I didn't understand it other than, ooh, three-breasted lady, guns, space Dick Jones, and alien people. Cool, right? But going back on it, this is really good, and I'm really glad that now that I no longer look through it through the eyes of a child. Now I look through it through the eyes of a guy who spends way too much time online terminally, but I really fucking liked it.
I don't see him in the credits, but wasn't that Tim Thomerson?
I don't think so, but I know the guy who played Quato.
No, I'm thinking the guy that gives him the instructions.
I don't know.
He's like,
I'd have to look that up.
And he's like, who gave this to you? He's like, you did. The one that gives him the instructions on and here's the briefcase or whatever. And
oh shit, yeah, I don't know,
him, but I can't find him in the credits, and I can't find anybody in the IMDb that looks like that character. So I'm like, that's got to be Tim Thomerson.
Yeah, that could be an uncredited thing where he just was there as like a day actor. Yeah, that's entirely possible. Maybe you picked up on something that I missed. So ultimately, guys, definitely give this a watch. I know there was a very good 4K that came out fairly recently. I think we might have even reviewed it. I'm not 100% sure though. I've got a memory of it, but do I trust it? And that brings us to the remake. This was not good. However,
if it seems like we skimmed over the original, that's because that was on purpose, because the whole point was to get to this.
Yeah.
So, you pretty much know that the first movie is
awesome.
It's mostly considered a classic. The only issues people have with it are the issues that they might have with most of the movies made by Paul Verhoeven. Maybe the excessiveness. It has the tongue-in-cheekness. It has the satire. It has a little bit of everything. It's also got the screenwriters for it were the screenwriters that had made some other action movies, and then one of the other people, I believe, wrote Alien and a few other films. So
Dan O'Bannon, I think so.
Yes, yeah, it had the pedigree of good sci-fi mixed with fun, cheesy action, and that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, like it's ultimately a lot of fun. Definitely check it out.
It's not a waste of time for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Whereas this one totally fucking is. So a story that I'm gonna say I remember pretty much right. So Total Recall, the remake, came out back in 2012 to a wet fart of a reception. Nobody remembers or talks about it. However, way back when, we used to have a host on this show who used to do another podcast here that ran for a tremendously long time, and they told me a story how they were in, I think it was, I want to say Hamilton or Toronto, and they accidentally wandered onto the set of this movie And if I remember the story correctly, and I'm pretty sure that I do, they interrupted a shot and the director yelled at them. And he's like, "What are you talking about? I'm here to catch a bus or a train or something." And turns out this person had wandered onto the set of Total Recall. And I think Colin Farrell was on set that day. And I don't think he was none too happy either. Again, if I'm remembering this story correctly.
Well, if I were Colin Farrell, I wouldn't be happy about being on set anyway.
That's true. And there's a local connection. Part of the shots on Mars were filmed here in Guelph. I found out.
Not Mars. Not Mars.
Oh, Earth. Okay. So part of this was filmed here in Guelph, and it turns out I actually work at the food bank just down the street from this place, and it's right at the corner of a major intersection in Guelph, not too far from City Hall, because there's a very identifiable awning and there's a very popular bar right on the corner there. And when I saw the shots, I had to go back and look through a couple of news articles. I even found some videos on YouTube that were referencing this thing, and oh, that's kind of cool. So, all right, I'm excited to go into this. I've got a personal connection to this. I work not too far from here. Cool. And then I watched it. Can I tell you what happens in it? Not fucking really, other than it has a few very loose connections to the Total Recall that happens. Other than the guy gets his mind manipulated, there's a guy who wants to control stuff. I'm pretty sure Bryan Cranston discovers playing bad guys is really fun, which is why he does it. Kate Beckinsale is a slightly less cool version of her character from Underworld. And the robots in this look like the mechs from Mass Effect 2 and 3 that work for the Blue Suns. So kind of a cool looking design, but vastly unnecessary in this. And Colin Farrell just sleeps through this.
Well, he sleep until his last 3 or 4 years. He slept through 2005 to 2015. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's true.
And it came out later on. We know he ended up having a lot of family issues, and his own substance issues. Glad he's cleaned up because he's a great actor now.
Oh,
and he was a great actor when he started. He was not a great actor from when he did the Miami Vice movie
after Phone Booth. Yeah,
from Miami Vice in 06, 07 to 2013, 2014. He was in crap. But we haven't read it. I'm assuming that you, Aaron, have read the original short story. Is this closer than the Arnold movie?
It's been an incredibly long time since I read it. So
I'm going to assume no.
I don't want to say yes or no to that because it's been so long since I've read the book. I just want to say that you don't need this to be a Total Recall movie. If you took out Colin Farrell going to Recall to get memories put in, there would be no connection to the original, really.
Yeah, other than the names of characters, that's it. Also, the big twist or change is it's not Mars, it's just a colony,
a suborbital colony or something like that.
No. It's England is the one place that's habitable, and then Australia, the colony, is habitable, and they drilled a hole through the center of the Earth.
Yeah.
And people commute through
an hour and a half each way.
Okay, now you have the technology to build a hole, a giant tunnel through the center of the Earth.
Without disturbing the core. Or
why? Why haven't you built into space if the whole planet is utter shit outside of these two little areas? And not even all of the UK is habitable, because we see the toxic zone. That's just I guess sort of just out of sight.
I thought that it started, first of all, and I was like, why are you tunneling to... Also, would it have made more sense if instead they were other sci-fi, not tropes, but other sci-fi elements, which would be a colony that's literally a orbital space platform that you have to use a space elevator to get to?
That would make way more sense.
Because you're not disturbing the core or the, which would affect gravity, which would affect the the rotation of the Earth. It would affect basically they cored an apple and decided that we're going to send an elevator through it.
Or for commuters to work.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Why wouldn't you just have everybody in Australia just work at what? They never really explain what they're doing. The only thing they ever show is they send workers from the rest of England and like I guess the rest of the world to there every day to build more robots
for their jobs.
Yeah, to make the robots that are replacing them, and they're not rising up because reasons.
And when like the UK sends troops in this tunnel, in this elevator through the core, why doesn't the colony just blow up the station so the troops can't get there? Like the whole end of the movie doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Also, I feel like this movie was made because somebody said, I have a neat idea for flipping the gravity using this CG effect. It's like, prepare for gravity flip. So that like everything in here, the logic, in quotes, of this movie is what a 9-year-old thinks sci-fi is.
Like, I kind of get the feeling this was another movie that was script doctored into a Total Recall. Like, there's this part that's just so, like, it's so inconsistent.
It starts out with, I was just calling this like the seizure movie because I have never, ever in my life seen more seizure-inducing flashing lights. And this was shot using those Red 1 cameras when that was still very new, the 4K high-def cameras. The fact that this movie starts without a warning about flashing lights is very surprising. I'm very surprised that it made it to theaters.
I fully agree. I don't have problems with flashing lights. I was nauseous from the opening of this movie.
And it's mixed exactly. I'm mixing that with it still had that like Bourne Identity, shaky cam that was still happening at that time to cover up their laziness really in filmmaking. Which thank you, John Wick, for basically having a renaissance in fight choreography so that we could get away from that bullshit. But it was the most flashes. It wasn't just like a strobe light. It was just nonstop. And every gun has a muzzle flash that flashes the whole screen. Like the whole movie was like, if you're somebody who has problems with either seizures or migraines, you can't watch this movie.
No, yeah, don't do it. Don't do it.
And it's another movie that is just, hey, let's make everything white and Apple Store-esque. All the robots look like the iRobot robots / whatever was in the RoboCop remake / whatever was in any movie of this era, where they look like cookie cutter assets. There were some interesting moments squandered by direction and mostly the script. The actors do the best they can with what they're given. Nobody is a standout terrible performance in this, which it makes me think
this was a paycheck movie.
You got to like check this off on a list of, oh man, what a waste of talent.
Yeah, because like one guy I've come to like is Bokeem Woodbine, and I mostly know him from the Halo TV series.
He's a good character B-movie actor.
Yeah, like I honestly really enjoy him. And when I was watching this, I'm thinking, oh, you're kind of wasted. Now, there is one moment that is really interesting where he pulls the same fake out bullshit on Colin Farrell. And Colin Farrell's like, well, if you're a part of my imagination, why are you wearing a bulletproof vest? He's like, because you want to protect me. I'm your buddy. I'm your friend. You don't want to see anything bad happen to me, do you? He's like, well, that does kind of make sense. And then his friend, like the other brunette lady, and that's another problem I have with this. It's hard to tell Kate Beckinsale from Jessica Biel. I had to look at my friend Liam. I'm like, how do you tell these two girls apart? One has straight hair, one has a ponytail.
There was a purposeful reason that they cast the way they did previously. Was it not just because they worked it into the script? It's like, oh, he wants
certain type of person.
He wants a type of personality, and he wants something different than his wife. That was the fantasy, right? But there was a practical reason, was they wanted to cast people that were very contrasting, because eventually they're going to have a fight in that movie, and obviously you want to be able to tell who's who, and they don't necessarily fit specific character archetypes, but that's what it's there for. Here, there was a hard time sometimes telling them apart. Not like, and I mean, I'm not somebody who has like face blindness, but if you weren't looking directly on, like if you're, looking, they even dress them basically the same. Like there was nothing really telling apart. And also, it's another movie where everything is either clinically, bright white lights or very, very dark. There wasn't really any color in this movie whatsoever. And I know in The Wasteland that makes sense, but like, really?
There was some neon in like the cyberpunky kind of dystopia outside, but yeah,
but
I know what you're saying.
It's a case of movie coming out, but having 10-year-old computer graphics.
Like, one of the things that bothered me about this, and this just comes from my love of props and costumes, outside of the robots and the gun that shot the Taser Bolo thing, the magnet gun, it's all very boring, very bland. And like I said, as Alex mentioned the word face blindness, I actually do have that. I'm very bad at telling people. I actually have to listen to your voice, and that'll give me about 10 or 15 seconds to put a memory to you, and then I know who you are. So if you ever meet me in public, and if you see me stalling for time, I have face blindness. I'm getting old. I'm sorry. But in this, the only reason I could tell those two actresses apart, I looked at their hair. And again, like Kate Beckinsale, she's been playing the same character for like 15 years at this point. Like, I'm the badass vampire hunter with dual akimbo pistols and bullshit. And here I'm a spy badass with ass kicking whatever. And she's a wonderful action actress. Do not get me wrong. But again, I don't care. And even Bryan Cranston, what a fucking waste of a good, like, fuck, you're so much better than this.
I might actually think he's the best part of the movie when he's just chewing the scenery. Like, it's the only time I smiled watching the movie.
Everybody else was sleepwalking.
And can I say that, like, there's another big difference between Total Recall, the first one, and this one?
Okay.
With Arnold, you can't I think the writing is good enough that it's questionable whether this is a memory from Total Recall or it is reality happening. In this movie, to me it's obvious this is all an implanted memory.
Yeah.
There's constant drops of information of, like, seeing something on somebody's skin, like a tattoo that is like the Total Recall tattoo or whatever. It's obvious it's all implanted.
Yeah, like it's obvious that the second that he got the tattoo, that's the implant. It's not what they did after.
Yeah.
Like it's whereas in the original with Arnold, they keep you guessing right to the very end because they put him out, and then for that few moments, he's not the main character that you're focusing on when they start panicking and she says, I haven't even implanted them yet. You're not seeing that from his perspective. He's out. So there's the thought of, well, unless he's having an out-of-body experience, well, this is real. This is happening. And then they blur the lines at the end when the ending happens to have the storyline that he's told when he's sitting down there. Like, at the end, you get the girl. It ends with, the what is it? The sunrise over Mars and your freedom fighter. Well, that's how it ends. And it ends with the sort of soft, dreamlike focus, and it zooms out. But you're still left wondering, what is that? The dream? Is it real? Is it not? And it does just enough balance between it. In this one, the second he gets the tattoo, I'm like, well, this is when it starts. You can tell just the way, and it's not even like they telegraphed it. It's just not well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so disappointing because remakes of this era, like, you've got notable remakes that came out within that time period. You had Friday the 13th, which I think gets a lot more hate than what it probably deserves. Nightmare on Elm Street, I think, will be re-evaluated at some point. The RoboCop remake wasted potential in a lot of ways. Like I said, as we did in our last RoboCop show, it's some interesting ideas, but very poorly executed to the point where it's like it's member berries. Here, you're getting the sniff of a member berry, not enough to even chew on for this one. And it's just, it's not even worth streaming on Netflix if you're bored at 3:00 in the morning.
And we watched the director's cut, and it was like a few minutes longer, and it added nothing. Like there's nothing here that I thought you could have cut this movie from 2 hours and 20 minutes down to 1 hour and 40, and it still wouldn't have been better.
Yeah, like it's ultimately, it's so forgettable. It's bland. Also, while I was watching this, it also came across the way you could subtitle this "Ambush the Movie," because there's never a point where he is on the offensive. He's always getting jumped. And I was like, that's kind of shitty. He's always reacting to a situation. Like, I don't like it.
There's one memorable scene in this entire movie that is a nod to the original. Everything else doesn't appear to be anything really related to the original, except for like a couple, minuscule plot points.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the going through, as we mentioned, one of your favorite scenes, going through customs.
Yeah.
Is they have a woman who is, doesn't look like, but is meant to look like the big lady.
2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. And they focus on her, and you could tell right away that you can tell that they were doing a fake out, because again, whoever filmed this is not very skilled. But the twist is that it's not that character, it's the other person being scanned, and the effect is not worth it, because again, nothing practical. Everything was green screen. Everything was low budget looking green screen, even though this cost actually, this might have cost less than the original movie, to be honest. Even if, I think this probably cost like 100 and some odd million, but the difference was the original was like 80 or 90 million 25 years earlier. So, or actually, 2000, about 25 years earlier. So that would have been probably bigger budget overall. But again, it's the few nods that they did, didn't hit. They didn't make you go, "Oh wow." You're talking about movies that are remade in the early 2000s to like, the last 20 years or so. Weirdly, the one that I know it's not a great movie, but the one that I personally like the best is probably The Time Machine. And I know do I think it's a great movie? No. Do I have a lot of fun watching it? Yeah. So that's one, Mike, you should probably watch at some point. But
was The Time Machine, was that the one that was remade into A Sound of Thunder, or am I thinking of something else?
No. Time Machine was a George Pal movie from 1960. It's arguably one of my favorite movies of all time. And then it was
the original movie is really good.
I think I've seen it, because there's a weird effect where a guy like ages like 10,000 years because the body falls on the time machine or some shit like that, right? And it's like stop motion
of the new one. It could be, but in the new one, it was 2002 or 2003, and that's one that I feel handles its special effects better than this movie did 10 years later.
Interesting.
And it tries to tell a slightly different story. I'll give that movie credit again, like the Time Machine remake. It does try to tell a slightly different story in a different way. So I guess that's cool. I still really prefer the 1961.
Oh, exactly. So that's why I prefaced it by saying it's my personal favorite of these remakes. Because again, what can you think of any other big budget remake of any movie that was a sci-fi movie in the last 20 years that was actually good? Maybe was Solaris good?
No, Solaris wasn't good, not compared to the original.
So
I'm kind of thinking here, nothing that really jumps out at me anyway.
Journey to the Center of the Earth?
Journey to the Center of the Earth. Okay, hold on. If we want to have a discussion about this, because that's Will Ferrell, right? That's a comedy. And it's honestly fun. It's like one of the few Will Ferrell movies that I like beyond like Anchorman. But it's a totally different movie than the original one in tone and how it's presented, So saying that's a remake isn't really fair.
Yeah, because I guess you're right.
Or am I thinking Land of the Lost? No, I'm thinking
Land
Land
of
of
the
the
Lost.
Oh, you
Lost.
did Land
I'm
of the Lost.
sorry.
No,
I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah,
out
yeah.
my ass.
Journey to Center of the Earth. That was the Brendan Fraser.
Yeah, that's
Brendan
it.
Fraser.
Yeah.
Okay, I take it back. No, that's terrible compared to the original. I'm sorry.
Let's say-
See, I completely blanked that one out. Oh my god.
I was going to suggest maybe The Mummy, but that's an action from a horror. That's a horror movie into an action
And
movie.
that's also 90s when they were still doing interesting remakes, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't there a Journey to the Center of the Earth in the 80s or 90s as well, like a Dino De Laurentiis movie or something?
Yeah. There was. Yeah.
Here's one that's a remake. The Dawn of the Dead.
I was just going to suggest that, which we'll probably do later on.
But I will say that overall the remake is awful. It's just the like opening 15 minutes is some of the most solid horror movie stuff there is. And
I
then
will
the rest of
actually
the movie is terrible.
I will go to bat for that movie in actually a number of ways. So maybe that'll be something we do for October, because I know we do have some stuff coming up in the can for the next little while. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I guess we're going to round things out here. I guess when it comes to this 2012 remake, don't even stream it. It's honestly not worth your time, which is kind of depressing. The best scenes are on YouTube. Okay.
I say I can't even keep a straight face. Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
Tim Burton.
That's what I'm mentioning. But the new ones have their fans, but
I don't mind them.
I'm not a big fan of them, but the Tim Burton was what I was joking about. Or how about the Day the Earth Stood Still remake?
No, I have fire that will come from my eyes with that. See, I love Keanu Reeves. But that remake is a crime against humanity.
Yeah,
I think we found a future show.
I think honestly, and then there's Rollerball. There's a bunch of other terrible ones.
I would say, please don't make me watch Day the Earth Stood Still remake, please.
I won't. You know what? We'll trade that away. You don't have to do that. We might have to watch Death Race, the Jason Statham one, because
I wouldn't mind doing that one. Actually,
it's a remake of a Corman movie, and then we'll have to watch the original.
Here's a secret. Darlene and I watched Death Race 2000 just very recently for a possible Earth versus Soup episode.
Okay.
And we started taping an episode and came to the conclusion that we could not record the actual episode without cracking. Like, just because the social commentary was too much. And we just kind of degenerated into like griping about like everything in general,
now,
like life and all that.
There will be a future remake. There's something I'm going to pitch, but we can't do it until later on this year, unfortunately. In November of this year, we're going to have the Running Man remake. And that just fit.
Interesting or scary?
Yeah, like I've got a little bit of optimism for it because I love the original. I don't know much about the original short story, but I know the movie was vastly different. So
is Mick Fleetwood going to play Mick Fleetwood again as a resistance fighter? Because he's like 80.
I think that'd be pretty friggin' funny.
So now that we're just sort of riffing, one of the remakes that, I mean, okay, it's not going to be as good as the original, but it is actually something that isn't at least offensive at least to me. Maybe Aaron will feel differently, and that's the War of the Worlds remake.
Starship Troopers is getting a remake in 2026.
We're getting a bunch. I think we're maybe at the point now where we're going to get some more thoughtful sci-fi remakes. I guess Dune, that's a good remake.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
That's the one good remake, right? If there's the exception to the rule, right?
Yeah.
They're both good, but for completely different reasons, right? So
I'll say this in defense of the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think it does a good job with certain aspects of the story that the 1950s one didn't. Again, the 1950s one is like one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
But the Tom Cruise one isn't all bad. It's actually okay. I think it's okay. I don't know if it rises to the level of me saying it's good, but it's okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess, guys, that's going to bring this show to a conclusion. Next time on Future Imperfect, we're going to be taking a look at yet another remake, or sort of in the same universe-esque, and we're going to take you to Mega City 1. We're going to be taking a look at the 1995 Dredd, or Judge Dredd, with Sylvester Stallone. Then we're going to look at the 2012 Carl Urban, simply called Dredd, that was released back in 2012, and kind of talk about that. That's going to be a very interesting show. Big fan of both of those movies for various reasons, and yeah, there's going to be a lot of interesting talk on there. And yeah, you'll be hearing us talk about a lot more interesting topics here in the future on Future Imperfect. We're going to be doing a few more loose cannons. I know currently I'm working a lot with I'm working with Ken, I'm working with Dave and a few other people. There's been a lot of new additions to the Twig crew over the last little while, so you never quite know who's going to show up, but we've still got Loose Cannon, we've got Random Access Memories, we've got the regular show, tons of stuff coming up. We will be sure to let you guys know what's going on our socials on Blue Sky as to what's going to be coming out in the near future. So I guess without any further ado, we're going to wrap things up from the lovely city of Kitchener, Ontario, Canada.
Alex, the producer.
From Lansing, Michigan.
I'm Aaron Pollyea.
And I've been Mike the Birdman saying, live long and prosper.
Yeah, you're coming with me.
See you at the party, Richter. Time. One shall stand, one shall fall. Why throw away your life so recklessly? That's a question you should ask yourself, Megatron.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
That's right, Mr. Peabody.
Quiet, you.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Do not understand.
I do.
I understood that reference.
Mission successful. Shutting down.